Hey there, Internet. This is R. Felix Finch, and I'm here to review Impact's first pay-per-view of 2020, Hard to Kill, appropriately named. We start off with a really well-produced video package for the main event, and we get started with Ken Shamrock versus Madman Fulton. And Fulton is using his grapple game against Shamrock. The battle between the two, from what I see, stays mat-based, but Shamrock catches Fulton and is able to dislocate his shoulder. And even though Fulton refuses to quit, he's forced to tap when Shamrock catches both shoulders into a submission. And I have to admit that this one I'm not giving a rating because I had to reset my computer midway through this match because I think due to the 48 tabs I had open, in hindsight, it might have been what dragged it behind, so I wasn't able to watch this match in full. So I'm going to be fair and not rate it. Next up, though, we get Ace Austin versus Trey for the X Division Championship, and the match immediately gets underway. Trey attacking Ace Austin, upset that Ace Austin is MILF hunting Trey's mom. Ace puts Trey in front of his mom and starts slapping and chopping him in front of her. Trey showing off his athleticism in the ring as Ace begins targeting the knee. Ace Austin also heelishly paper cuts the webbing of the finger on Trey to cause a minor inconvenience. Trey does a great roll through Dragon Sleeper, and Ace manages to escape. Trey also hits the bottom rope seated springboard flatliner. Looks really good. Ace Austin is able to hit the ropes when Trey's on the top rope, causing him to crotch himself. And after Rhinoing him off from the outside, oddly enough, he hits him with a fold for the win. It was a 2.5-star match. Very solid for the X Division. Fun spots, but it feels like the emotional weight of the beginning of the match didn't last all the way through to the end. Next up, we have Jordynne Grace versus ODB versus Taya Valkyrie for the Impact Women's Championship. ODB starts by grabbing both women by their hair or ramming them into each other. She's getting a food truck chant. And by the way, shout out to Taya Valkyrie's Cruella de Vil gear. It looked great. Solid with, there's solid exchanges between Taya and Jordynne. We see Jordynne fly to the outside. ODB gives Jordynne a fall-away slam to the ramp. Taya is able to exercise control of the match, cornering Jordynne Grace and getting a huge sampling of heat. Jordynne lifts Taya by one leg, and ODB delivers a bulldog, kind of Doomsday Machine style. Jordynne Grace also delivers scoop slams, spinebusters, powerbomb. She's got the power, and acting as the true powerhouse of the match. And I've got to give it credit. The hits in the match are landing hard and solid. You can hear them. Jordynne Grace hits ODB with the Grace Driver, but Johnny Bravo was able to distract the ref. And when Jordynne Grace goes to confront him, Taya goes and covers ODB, and the ref counts while Bravo holds Jordynne's legs, so she can't go break it up with Taya, and Taya retains. This match was 3 stars. It's a well-executed match, though the production team needs to keep their eyes on the action because you could not see the finish. They were so focused on Johnny Bravo with Jordynne's leg that you hear the pin happen, but you don't see the actual pin by Taya. Next up, we get RVD versus Brian Cage, and Katie Forbes' girlfriend causes a distraction on the outside at first that allows RVD to launch an attack. It's not long until a chair makes his way into the match, and a Van Daminator to Cage busts his lip open, and I'm like, is it a no DQ? Because Katie Forbes just sitting there holding a chair in position in the ring while RVD hits a Van Terminator. Daga comes out to try to protect Cage from another RVD attack. The match with Cage ends up ending, so I guess it's a no contest because he can't continue after a busted lip. And sudden replacement is Daga with no announcement, so you really don't know what's going on if you're live there in the house. I will say RVD, much better wrestler than he is comedian. And after a short match, RVD pins Daga with a 5-star frog splash. And I gave this 1 star. I mean, good looking stuff from RVD, but I don't know why they did the finish with Cage and they were unable to continue, and him being unable to continue, and beating Daga. Like, why are you going to go over 2 guys at once that are both fresh faces? By the way, apparently Cage signed to All Elite Wrestling, so good job, Brian. In our next match, we have Michael Elgin taking on Eddie Edwards for the Call Your Shot trophy, and Eddie goes to fight, but Elgin maintains a majority of control, hitting hard, countering Flight with forearms, and somehow, even though there are exchanges and the crowd is solidly behind Eddie, doesn't feel like there's much happening in this match. Finally gets a near fall with a Tiger Bomb. The crowd starts chanting, "This is awesome," but I don't tend to agree. Elgin hits a German suplex off the top rope for a 2 count, and like I said, the crowd is hot. The Elgin delivers a lariat followed by a buckle bomb, but the Elgin bomb is reversed into a sunset flip by Eddie Edwards for the win. And I gave this half a star because I just could not get into this match at all. Even though, like I said, the crowd was hot. It wasn't the crowd's fault. We have Gore versus Spear as Rhino takes on Moose. Another immediate attack between the two. Moose is dressed in pink and yellow in tribute to the Macho Man Randy Savage, oh yeah. Moose tenderly hits Rhino with a chair, which kind of made me laugh. Great back body drop from Rhino to Moose on the outside, on the stage. Rhino and Moose continue the battle on the outside and the apron. Rhino even gives a pop-up powerbomb to Moose through the table. There's a slight ECW chant. Chairs get thrown into the ring, and even though Moose is able to fly with his elbow once, the second one, he ends up being caught by Rhino and suplexed onto the pile of chairs in the middle of the ring for a 2 count. And Rhino was able to set up Moose for a Gore through the table, but Moose pulls a ref in front of him. Ref gets hit, pads it for Moose. While Rhino's trying to figure out what's going on, another ref comes in, and Moose is able to hit a spear on Rhino for the win. And I gave this one 3 stars. It was an entertaining match between the two, and it didn't get too ridiculously hardcore, despite it having the no DQ stipulation. The Impact Tag Team Championships are on the line as the North takes on Willie Mack and Rich Swann, but Rich Swann is unable to compete since he hurt his knee at the event in San Antonio on Friday. So Mack goes in solo, and the North immediately double team Mack. Finally gets to one-on-one after Mack splits them up. The North maintains constant attack both individually and in a double team. Holy shit, there's a point where Willie Mack is on the top rope. Josh Alexander is on Ethan Page's shoulders. Willie Mack jumps over Josh Alexander, grabs him, and gives him a Canadian Destroyer off of the top of Ethan's shoulders. So it's a super Canadian Destroyer, and it looked great. He dives to the outside with Ethan before landing a 6-star fraud splash on Alexander. And it looks like it's going to be a 3 count, but Ethan Page pulls the referee out the ring and tries to get disqualified. He's telling the ref, hey, look, what I did was illegal. Disqualify me. The ref refused to disqualify them, but it's enough time for the North to get in, double team Mac, and overpower him to retain, while you see a disappointed Swann watching backstage. But he's watching a monitor like this. He isn't watching to the side. So that's nice. 3.5 stars. Really well told story. Great job of maintaining suspense, and there were parts where I thought Mac might actually win this. And now for our main event, Tessa Blanchard versus Sami Callihan. First off, I did not like the way they set this up. They had a perfect way to set this up at Bound for Glory by having Tessa win the X Division title, Sami win the main title, and choose option C. Instead, they had her lose that match and just insert herself into the title picture anyway. I feel like you just could have made it feel less forced with the rules you already set up in the universe. Granted, Sami gives an immediate power driver to Tessa and gets a dangerously close 2 count. Tessa immediately hits a Magnum and tries to pin. It's not successful. Tessa tries to go with a fast pace, knocking Sami to the outside and diving repeatedly on him. But Callihan's able to respond, driving her knees into the barricade, placing her into an Indian deathlock and chopping her back before letting her go. Constantly keeps the attack on Tessa's legs to leave her grounded. Even when Tessa is able to get up and get in some offense, Sami's able to catch her outside. He even power bombs her through a table. Tessa makes it in before a 10 count, so Sami continues the attack on the apron. And this is a controversial part because Tessa hits the Magnum on the apron. Both of them are down. Sami clearly gets in on the 9, and the ref, if maintaining his pace, Tessa would have been like a second behind the 10 count, so she doesn't quite make the 10 count, but the ref still calls it as she has. So again, that was very questionable. The crowd is very hot for Tessa. She gets to pull off some offense with a Magnum in the corner, but only a 2 count. And the next Magnum is caught into a double unhook shoulder breaker. She kicks out and rolls through a German cutter for for a 2.9 count. Callahan hits a power bomb and turns her kick out into a stretch muffler before turning that stretch muffler into a single leg Boston Crab and then transitioning it to a sleeper. And I forget that Callahan can wrestle at times because not everything's extreme. Callahan tries to hit her with the belt. Ref takes it away. He has brass knuckles ready, but she takes Callahan to Dick Kick City, hits a Magnum, hits another Magnum. Sami tries to hit with a pile driver. Tessa hits 2 destroyers followed by a buzzsaw DDT for the win. And she is the new Impact champion. Gave this match 4 stars. The opening of the match felt a bit too one-sided, but by the end of the match it picked up and was very enjoyable, though it felt a bit long by the time it finished. And let me go on about production here, because for some reason the production choices, Impact chooses to cut off as Tessa is climbing the top rope, so she doesn't even get that end of pay-per-view holding the belt spot. She's cut off and it just goes to the Impact logo. It was a weird choice. Why not have your champion celebrate? Are you on that strict of a time? And did they really cut it that close? Overall, I give this pay-per-view a C. It was a one-match show, and honestly, that match wasn't even the best match I saw today. I think they did a good job building her throughout the year to this match. I do think they built it wrong where, like I said, the option C is something built into the lore of TNA that would have been perfect to exploit for something like this. And why they didn't choose to do that is beyond me, because this was an ideal moment to do that, to show like how truly beneficial it could be and how truly revolutionary it could be. On top of that, Taya Valkyrie did say during a press conference during the show that if Tessa were to win, she would go title versus title with Tessa. And I think Taya Valkyrie versus Tessa Blanchard is a really good match. I don't know what they're going to do there. Will they go with 2 belts? Actually, if it's title versus title, that would be 2 belts. And Impact is supposed to have a pay-per-view in April, so we shall see. Otherwise, like I said, none of the other matches really stuck out to me. That RVD one was the biggest bit of bullshit, though. Just beating 2 of the younger guys and having RVD in there celebrating with his 2 girlfriends at the end. It was an odd visual to go off on, and that was a really weird booking choice. And even if Brian Cage is signed with AEW now, which is coming from SoCal Uncensored, so I take a lot of what they say at face value because they have a really good track record and are super well connected. Just why? Like, why? It serves nobody to have him out of a match due to a busted lip, and it serves even less people to have RVD defeat Daga. But you know what, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed, subscribe to youtube.com/FriscoFlame, and buy my t-shirts at FriscoFlame.com, including Propaganda Gold Sexualismo, which is homosexual propaganda and benefits the Russian LGBTQ network. You can also catch me patreon.com/FriscoFlame. I'll find more stuff to do there. I have some ideas, so stay tuned. Peace out, party peoples. I will see you next time. I'm thinking Worlds Collide.